All right, let's dive into one of the oldest and toughest questions in leadership. I mean, this is a real dilemma that anyone in a position of power has to think about, whether you're a CEO or a world leader. And the question is this: is it better to be loved or is it better to be feared? The answer? Well, it's probably not what you think.
So here it is, the famous, and let's be honest, pretty chilling quote at the heart of this whole discussion. Just let that sink in for a second. The argument is that fear is actually a more effective tool for a ruler than love. I mean, that goes against almost everything we're taught about what makes a good leader, doesn't it? And that's the immediate reaction, right? Why on earth would anyone choose fear over affection? It sounds cruel, maybe even tyrannical. But the philosophy behind this statement is built on a very specific, and you could say deeply cynical, view of human nature. To really get the logic, we have to break down both sides of the coin, starting with the one that seems so, well, obviously right.
So, first up, let's actually look at the case for being a loved leader. We're going to explore why this way of thinking sees love not as a strength, but as a fundamental and kind of dangerous weakness for anyone who's trying to hold on to power.
You know, this is the leader we all say we want, at least in theory. Someone who governs through positive feelings. Their authority comes from people wanting to follow them because they feel grateful, they feel a sense of obligation. It sounds absolutely ideal.
But here's the problem, according to this argument. That whole ideal of a loved ruler gets completely dismantled. That bond of obligation, it's seen as super fragile. People will snap it in a heartbeat if a better opportunity comes along for them. Gratitude? Oh, that fades. People forget. And that all-important bond of love, it's something people will just toss aside when their own self-interest is at stake. You see, at its core, ruling by love assumes that people are inherently good, and this philosophy argues that's a really foolish bet to make.
Okay, so if love is too unreliable, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to the other side of the equation, fear. And it's really important to get this. In this context, fear isn't just about random cruelty. No, it's about something much more calculated. It's about certainty.
So, the power of a feared ruler isn't based on messy emotions. It's based on a simple, predictable calculation. If you disobey, you will be punished. Period. There's no gray area. The fear isn't about the ruler's personality. It's about the direct, unavoidable consequences of crossing a line. It's a constant, steady threat that people can always count on.
This table just lays out the difference so clearly. A rule by love is built on flimsy things like gratitude. A rule by fear, it's built on the dread of punishment. Love is unstable, fear is constant and predictable. But the most critical point is right there in that last row, control. When you rule by love, the people hold the power. They can take that love away at any moment. But when you rule by fear, you, the ruler, hold all the control. That bond can't be broken by them, only by you.
Now, this is crucial. We're about to get to the most important and honestly the most forgotten part of that original quote. This entire argument is not a blanket endorsement for being a tyrant. It's a conditional statement. It only applies in a very specific situation.
This one tiny two-letter word changes everything. The entire philosophy hinges on this condition. It's not a command to go out and be feared. It's a choice you have to make if, and only if, a certain condition is met. This is the key that unlocks the whole idea.
If you cannot be both loved and feared. See, the argument actually admits that the absolute best-case scenario is to have both. But it's also realistic. It knows that life is messy. Sometimes you're forced into a corner where you have to choose. So this isn't about being good versus evil. It's about making a tough, pragmatic choice when the perfect option just isn't on the table.
Okay, so let's put it all together. We've established the unreliability of love, the certainty of fear, and that critical condition of being forced to choose. Now we can see exactly how this final, pragmatic verdict unfolds. It's a cold calculation, and it leads to a very clear conclusion.
So here's the whole argument laid out step by step. First, the ideal is to be both loved and feared. Everyone agrees on that. Second, human nature, being what it is, makes love a really unreliable foundation for power. And third, the fear of consequences is a much more dependable motivator for people. So, the logical conclusion is this: if you're forced to pick just one, you have to pick the tool that's more reliable, the one you control. You have to choose fear.
And just like that, we arrive back where we started. But now, that quote, it doesn't sound quite so monstrous, does it? It sounds less like a call for random cruelty and more like a piece of cold, calculated advice for a leader who's stuck in a difficult situation.
It's a pragmatic solution to a messy problem, all based on a pretty pessimistic view of human nature.
So, that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. When it all comes down to it, in leadership, what's actually more valuable? Is it the stability and order that come from a predictable system of consequences? Or is it the genuine but totally fickle affection of the people you're trying to lead? The answer, I have a feeling, is not nearly as simple as we'd like it to be.